All right, let's dive in. We're about to explore a world you can't see, but one that absolutely 100% shapes your own, the world of microbiology. So let me just start by asking you a question. What if the most powerful, the most influential life on our entire planet was completely invisible to the naked eye? Well, here's the thing. It is. This invisible life is all around you. It's inside of you, and it fundamentally shapes everything from your own health to the health of the entire planet. We are, of course, talking about microbes. So let's step into their world, shall we? This is section 1, the world of microbes. Okay, so simply put, microbiology is the science that studies these microorganisms. But, it goes way beyond just looking at them under a microscope. It's really about understanding their incredibly complex, vast interactions with us and with the environment as a whole. These tiny organisms are more important than you can possibly imagine. Just think of them as the planet's master recycling system. They're responsible for cycling all the crucial elements like carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Without them, the ecological balance would totally collapse, and our soil would lose all its fertility. They really are the unseen foundation of all life. But it's not all just about, keeping the planet running. The story is way more complicated than that. Which brings us right to our next section, our microbial allies and enemies. You see, the microbial world is really two-sided. On one hand, you have microbes that are our greatest allies. I mean, we have them to thank for amazing food like cheese, wine, and bread, and for life-saving medicines like antibiotics. But on the other hand, they can be our worst foes, causing horrible diseases like smallpox and cholera, spoiling our food, and completely wiping out crops. But here's the incredible twist in the story. The microbial world doesn't just give us problems. It also gives us the solutions. The very same world of organisms that can make us sick has also provided us with the tools, like antibiotics, to fight back. How amazing is that? So how exactly have we learned to tip the scales in our favor? Well, let's move on and see how we're harnessing microbial power. Over the years, we've learned to turn these microbes into tiny biological factories. I mean, they are absolute workhorses in all kinds of industries, churning out commercial products like acetone, organic acids, enzymes, alcohols, and a huge number of drugs. They're kind of like the quiet engine of modern biotechnology. And in just the last few decades, we've gotten even more sophisticated. Through this incredible thing called genetic engineering, we can now basically program bacteria to become tiny, custom-built medicine makers. It's a total revolution. So how does this actually work? Well, the process is surprisingly elegant. Scientists can take a human gene, let's say the one that tells our body how to make insulin, and they can actually insert it into the DNA of a bacterium. Then they just let the bacteria do their thing. They let them grow. And as they multiply, they read that new genetic code and start producing perfectly human proteins like insulin or growth hormone or interferon. It's just incredible. But, doing all of this requires some pretty amazing scientific detective work. I mean, after all, how do you manipulate a world you can't even see? And that brings us to our next section, unlocking the microbial code. So this is the fundamental question for any microbiologist, right? How do you study an invisible world? And the answer is with a powerful and highly specialized toolkit that's been developed over decades. The essentials of that kit include things like microscopy, so you can actually see the microbes. You need culture methods to grow them in a lab, so you have enough to study. And then you've got molecular techniques to read their DNA and immunological methods to detect their presence in a sample. Let's just focus on one of those molecular tools, PCR. The absolute best way to think about it is as a genetic photocopier. It allows a scientist to find one specific, tiny piece of DNA in a sample and then make millions or even billions of identical copies. This technique has been a complete game changer for everything from diagnosing diseases to forensic science. The concept itself is brilliantly simple. First, scientists target the exact DNA sequence they're looking for. Then, they use a process with special enzymes to unzip the DNA and make copies over and over and over again. This revolutionary step takes a single, invisible molecule and creates so much of it that it becomes super easy to detect. That's how we can find a single virus in a patient's sample or identify a suspect from just a tiny drop of blood. Okay, this science is clearly powerful stuff. But what does it actually mean for people in the real world? For jobs? Well, let's explore that in our final section, careers in microbiology. The career opportunities are incredibly diverse. I mean, microbiologists are critical in healthcare, diagnosing diseases. They're in research labs making brand new discoveries. They're in the food industry, making sure what we eat is safe, and in biotech and pharma, creating the next wave of life-saving drugs and vaccines. So, take a clinical microbiologist, for example. These people are on the front lines of medicine. They work in hospitals, taking patient samples, identifying the specific microbe that's causing an infection, and then testing which antibiotics are actually going to work against it. They provide the absolutely critical information that doctors need to save lives. Or think about someone in quality control. These scientists are the unsung heroes protecting us every single day. They test raw materials and finished products in the food, pharmaceutical, and even cosmetic industries just to make sure they're free from harmful microbes. They're upholding the safety standards that we all rely on without even thinking about it. And honestly, that's just scratching the surface. The source material we looked at outlines over 7 major career fields, and even that doesn't cover it all. We're talking vaccine production, environmental cleanup, academic research, industrial manufacturing. The possibilities are truly vast. So let's end where we began, with the immense, undeniable power of this unseen world. Microbes have caused some of history's deadliest pandemics, that's true, but they have also given us the tools, like antibiotics and vaccines, to fight back. So the final question I want to leave you with is this: what global challenge will they help us solve next?